couple months back, I made an iceberg chart for TimeSplitters, one that covered some of the more well-known facts and curiosities about just some of the strangest and most obscure trivia possible, and it gained a decent amount of traction. People were asking to make a video about it, to have some of the stuff explained. And while I covered some of the points in there in the comments section, not everything was explained in good detail. So I figured I'd take this time to go over it, try to explain what I was getting at with some of these remarks I was making. Now, this was made before some of the new revelations, like about Homefront and everything, so I'm gonna have to rectify some of these probably, now that they're better known. But generally speaking, I'll address everything as it's presented in the chart. And I'll just start with the initial levels for this segment. And before I get started, I figured I should explain how I'm going to handle this stuff. Whenever I go over a point on the chart, I'm going to make note of it, whether it's a fact, a theory, or if it's just a joke. And if it's a theory, I'll cover its strength, how accurate it is, how much evidence there is to back it up, or whether it's just kind of a weak theory that's thrown together based off of circumstantial evidence. Part 1. The tip of the iceberg. This covers stuff that's very well known, even for people who basically know what TimeSplitters is. This stuff gets around real easily, and chances are you've heard about it, even if you don't know much about the games, or if you've only kind of played them a bit. Maybe had a friend over and played around with them, did that, then you might know about some of this stuff. Let's go into it, shall we? Starting off immediately, we got TimeSplitters 4. TimeSplitters 4 was going to be the sequel to TimeSplitters Future Perfect. Free Radical announced it back in the mid-2000s, and there were some teaser videos put out for it, some artwork and promos. Ultimately, it never got released, at least in that incarnation. We'll go into more detail about the game later on, but that's just the basics of the project for now. The Confederate States of America existed in 1853. This is based off of an error in the Wild West briefing and in the Colonel's backstory, but I'm just going to go with it because it's presented as fact within the game itself. Wild West takes place in 1853 in TimeSplitters 2. The main villain of it, the Colonel, is said to be a Confederate deserter. Now that would imply the Confederacy existed in 1853, possibly earlier, it's unknown. It's also unknown whether the Civil War happened, if it's over, or if it's still going on when the level happens. The only thing that's certain is that the Confederacy definitely exists, because without it there would have been no Confederate army for him to desert from. Siberia in arcade. In TimeSplitters 2, Siberia is a story level, but it also has an arcade setup. You play it in a couple arcade league matches, I believe, and it's a small level, sort of like Compound, but it's got some good vertical aspects, where you climb on top of a couple of the buildings in order to get to some better weapons. You can enable it with mods and other stuff. It's pretty fun to play. I'd suggest giving it a try. The Rec Room. The Rec Room is a site where people would share maps for all three games, along with save files and other things. I don't know how much activity goes on with it now, but it used to be really active back in the heyday of the TimeSplitters games. The Training Ground Glitch. Now this one, this goes way back. I had heard about this. This was shown to me when I was first introduced to the games. I was over at a friend's house playing it. In order to do the Training Ground Glitch, you have to play as a small character and shrink enough to be an extremely small size, either with the shrink power-up or with the shrink game mode. Once you're small enough, you can go through the waterfall and out of the level. And you can use this to troll and grief people, shoot them from a place they can't shoot back. This works well in TimeSplitters 2 and Future Perfect, but in Future Perfect, if you wander too far off, you'll fall into a death pit. So you'll have to be more careful in that version. TimeSplitters 2's Gothic Tileset. This is well known because the strategy guide for the game featured it. TimeSplitters 1 had a Gothic tileset, and TimeSplitters 2 is going to have one as well. It's still in the game files, it's pretty much finished aside from some lighting issues, and a few of the textures looking not as nice. It works well, it's just that I guess they ran out of time before they could finish it, so they ended up making it inaccessible. You can use an action replay code to enable it, and there are different videos covering it. You can see photos of it in the TimeSplitters 2 strategy guide, amazingly enough, so it must have been a pretty late cut, because they show it off as if you're supposed to be able to access it. TimeSplitters Rewind. Everybody here knows what this is. The remake of all 3 TimeSplitters games done by fans of the series. So far, it's looking pretty cool. Looks like they're going to finish up the first entry of the game. I'm curious to see how they're going to translate its fast-paced gameplay into sort of a future-perfect way of handling guns and stuff. But I'm looking forward to it. The Summer 2001 TimeSplitters 2 demo. Now this demo came out, I believe, in the Jam Pack and in some other sources. Big difference with it is that it handles more like TimeSplitters 1. The guns have different models. Every pistol shoots faster, has slightly less ammo. There's no tactical 12 gauge, there's just the assault shotgun, but with a different model. The Soviet S-47 has like 18 shots and reloads with every grenade, and it ends after a certain point. I don't think you get to fight the chopper unless you use cheats to get to it. And even then, it's an Apache helicopter instead of a Hind helicopter. It just has a lot of differences here and there. It makes for a very strange playing experience if you've played the final product. Spaceways and Warzone announcements. In TimeSplitters 1, if you play around on those 2 levels, Spaceways and Warzone, long enough, you'll be able to hear announcements from the speakers in them. They can be pretty strange and humorous. They add to the level's atmosphere. I believe that RyanUKAus did a full collection of them in his TimeSplitters in Detail series on Spaceways. Now, I'm going to talk more about Warzone as this goes on, because that's a really interesting level, and there are a couple other points that are worth bringing up. But that's just surface level stuff.
If in the state, we will win!
Screwed spaceline.
The Koozer Mox won the Mox Civil War. In TimeSplitters 2, in Return to Planet X, you see the Ozor and Mizor Mox battling for control of Planet X. You don't see what comes of this fight, but you learn about it in Future Perfect. It turns out that a third faction, the Koozer Mox, were just sort of sitting by and letting the fight happen. Once the 2 other species drove themselves to extinction, the Koozer took over the planet. So they won the Mox Civil War by basically doing nothing. The Playing with Fire glitch. This glitch causes a world of problems for people who want 100% the game, get a full platinum on everything. Playing with Fire is a challenge where you play as a wood golem who's burning. You've got like a half a minute to collect as many bananas as possible before you run out of life. Which is all fine and all, but the way it counts the score is a little unique. It counts the number of bananas you've gathered up for bronze, silver, and gold. But for platinum, you need to collect the final one with a certain amount of time left. If you only get a gold and not a platinum, you'll never be able to reach a platinum because of the way the game handles the score. You'll only be able to get a gold from then on, unless you restart the game before it saves. So, if you want 100% it and you get a gold, reset the console before it's too late. Now, the Mox Weapon. This one is a big enigma among the community, but everybody kind of knows what it is. It's that laser weapon in Return to Planet X, the one that the Mox wield, where it shoots out those orange or green lasers, and you can't get it, like no matter what you do, it never drops off an enemy. That seems to be repurposed from a couple cut weapon concepts. The orange laser comes from an early version of the laser gun. I'm not sure about the green laser though. It uses the sci-fi handguns model, and it's set not to drop in both story mode and arcade and other modes. You can use mods to make it drop, but you have to have it so that every enemy individually drops ammo for it in Return to Planet X to pick it up. It's pretty unique to play as. It's like a laser shotgun without the damage fall off. Primary fire shoots 4 orange lasers that move quickly and have like this like spiraling aspect to them. Secondary fire shoots 3 green lasers that gradually fall down. It does a decent amount of damage. Strangely, it does less damage on headshots than it does on chest shots, so keep that in mind when you use it. It's often associated with this early model for the laser gun, but those are not connected at all. It's just that that was an early version of the laser gun that used that lit weapon effect. Doesn't help that showed up in a lot of early screenshots, so people kind of associate them together, myself included. It's a strange weapon that I guess was sort of a last-minute thing they added to give more variety in Return to Planet X. But it's cool. I like it. Part 2. The body of the iceberg. This is still some surface level stuff, but it's lesser known. Some of it's more of a curiosity than anything else. It's still worth mentioning though. Some of the facts here are very interesting. Let's get into them, shall we? I believe this is where the first theories begin. TimeSplitters 2 beta gun models. The weapon models changed appearances over the course of development, and a lot of these early models show up in the promo photos they put out. So, like, the silenced pistol looks like the TimeSplitters 1 pistol with some extra stuff thrown on it. The Soviet S-47's less detailed. The Tactical 12 gauge had a wooden pump, completely different appearance, and was called the Assault Shotgun. These ended up changing over the course of development, and eventually were replaced with the final models. Not sure when exactly the transition happened, but there were definitely some different designs going on. Like the sniper rifle looked like the TimeSplitters 1 sniper rifle, and the vintage rifle looked like a bolt-action Lee Enfield rifle, which did end up becoming a thing in Future Perfect, though. Girlfriend Monkey. Girlfriend Monkey was a character planned for TimeSplitters Future Perfect. She has an icon, but outside of that, I don't think there's any data for her there. It's unknown why she was cut, or how you would have unlocked her, or what her stats were. Free Radical Design's final projects. Before they closed down, Free Radical Design had some final projects they were working on. They were working on Battlefront 3 for LucasArts. They were shopping design ideas around for Haze 2, and I believe they were also working on a port of TimeSplitters 2 to the PC. The Flame Tag Glitch. This one is in TimeSplitters 2 only, since Flame Tag only appeared in that game. What you do is, well, there are actually several glitches with Flame Tag. The most prominent one is where you get tagged, you kill an enemy, and then tag them as they're dying, to stop them from respawning and stop anyone from being tagged again. You can also go into Map Maker, go into Preview, then Flame Tag, and you can bring fire weapons along with you. So you can have multiple people tagged at once in a single game. It's an interesting experience. The TimeSplitters are an ancient race from a different dimension. This comes from the promotional materials from TimeSplitters 1. It said that they're, again, an ancient race from a different dimension. In Future Perfect, they're revealed to be created by a human scientist named Jacob Crow. It's unknown if they traveled to a different dimension from there, if they went back in time and became ancient that way. It's sort of strange. This different origin for them is never really explained. The NeoTokyo pedestrians. NeoTokyo has a unique civilian population walking around its levels. There are a total of 20 different characters that can appear. They have different appearances, 10 of them male, 10 of them female, and sometimes they share different aspects of their bodies, but otherwise they're a pretty unique combination. Their names are just NeoTokyo Male Pedestrian 1 through 10, or NeoTokyo Female Pedestrian 1 through 10. It's unknown why they never got fully implemented into arcade. You can add them through modding, or the first 10 through action replay codes, but the rest is sort of unknown. The Gray Team. This is another TimeSplitters 2 glitch, although it's also sort of a fact as well. You can access something called the Trooper Gray Team, or Team Circus, through a glitch where, as player 2, 3, or 4, you close out of the character menu the moment everybody else has hit OK. Doing this will assign you to this Gray Team that has unique properties. I cover it in another TimeSplitters 2, a detailed look video. There's also a reference to a Gray Team in the game's files, so it's unclear if the game's just assigning you to that or if it's some glitched combination of data that has been interpreted as a team. Jo-Beth is Anya's ancestor. This is a theory. There's some evidence for it, but it's a theory. Jo-Beth, Casey, and Anya seem to, indirectly interact the most out of all the different companions in TimeSplitters Future Perfect. Facially, they look very similar. While Anya starts out kind of just indifferent to Jo-Beth Casey, she gets really concerned for her as the story for the Mansion of Madness and What Lies Below goes on. It seems like there's a possibility that she's a distant ancestor of Anya, but there's no confirmation of that. It's just conjecture. Sunset and Village. Village from TimeSplitters 1 originally had a sunset in the sky instead of it being nighttime. You can see this on the back of the box and on some early videos of it. TimeSplitters 1 and TimeSplitters 2 modding. There are mods available for TimeSplitters 1 and 2. Both games have shown that they can be modded to a certain degree from all aspects of it. I've created more than a few myself. Future Perfect has modding potential too, but it's more complex, so that's why you see less people going into it. Nikolai in TimeSplitters Future Perfect. Nikolai was a character in TimeSplitters 2, one of the enemies that appeared in Siberia. He was going to appear in Future Perfect because there is a brief glimpse of him you can catch. If you watch very carefully, you'll see him running past the player. It's unknown why they cut him, or why the other Special Forces guys that were supposed to appear in Future Perfect were cut. All you can do is speculate. So that's all for now. I'm gonna save the remaining 5 levels for another time, maybe incorporate them into another 2 videos or so. They're gonna be delving more into some of the strange aspects of the games and the community, and going into more out there theories. It'll be a wild ride, and I hope you all will join me on it. Thanks for watching this, and thanks for taking interest in the TimeSplitters games. I look forward to presenting the remaining levels of the Iceberg to you guys.